Forbidden fruit, my stepson, my secret, my ruin. Prepared to be utterly captivated. What happens when the very walls of your seemingly perfect marriage begin to whisper secrets of a forbidden desire? And when that desire ignites with the one person you should never crave? This isn't just a story, it's a raw, electrifying descent into the heart of loneliness and the shocking temptation that blooms in its shadows. Have you ever wondered how far a person is willing to stray when starved for connection? The answer lies within this groundbreaking tale, a story so unique, so emotionally charged, it will leave you breathless. Trust us, the ending of When Loneliness Leads to Temptation, a wife's confession will shatter everything you thought you knew. Stay tuned until the very last word for a revelation unlike any you've ever encountered. If you've never heard a story like this before, it's because it hasn't been told. Until now. Like, subscribe, comment, and share this speechless journey into the uncharted territories of the human heart. More heartwarming and unforgettable stories are waiting to be uncovered. Don't miss out. The suburban quiet of Oakhaven Estates had always felt less like serenity and more like a soundproof vault to Serafina, a woman teetering on the precipice of 43. Her husband, Alistair Thorne, a titan in the world of mergers and acquisitions, moved through their meticulously landscaped life with the focused intensity of a predator, leaving a wake of unanswered emails and lukewarm dinners in his stead. Serafina understood the relentless demands of his empire, the late-night calls that bled into early mornings, the constant hum of ambition that vibrated beneath his tailored suits. Yet, understanding offered little solace against the gnawing emptiness that had taken root in their once vibrant union. There was a time, a golden era in their courtship, when Alistair's eyes held only her, when laughter echoed through their small apartment, fueled by shared dreams and whispered promises. They had built this life, brick by manicured brick, on the foundation of that fervent connection. But somewhere along the trajectory of his ascent, the warmth had leached away, replaced by polite inquiries and perfunctory gestures. Their evenings now stretched into glacial silences, punctuated only by the clinking of silverware and the muted glow of the television screen. Serafina often found herself staring into the middle distance, a phantom limb aching for a touch that no longer came, a conversation that remained unspoken. She had everything she thought she desired, a sprawling home, a respected husband, a life of comfortable elegance, yet she felt like an exquisitely preserved specimen trapped in a bell jar. A few days later, the heavy oak front door clicked shut behind Alistair as he departed for yet another crucial out-of-town negotiation. The silence that descended was not the peaceful hush of a sleeping house, but a thick, suffocating blanket. Serafina wandered through the echoing rooms, the weight of her solitude pressing down on her. Her thoughts, unbidden and insistent, drifted towards a recent, charged encounter with her stepson, Caspian. The memory shimmered at the edges of her awareness, a forbidden bloom pushing through the parched earth of her discontent. Caspian, Alistair's son from his first marriage, was a study in youthful intensity, a raw energy that contrasted sharply with Alistair's polished reserve. He was 22, with a restless spirit and eyes that held the disconcerting mixture of defiance and vulnerability. Their interactions had always been polite, bordering on distant, until a few weeks prior, a shared moment of unexpected intimacy had cracked the facade. A spilled cup of coffee, a hand reaching to steady hers, a lingering gaze that had sparked a current of something dangerous and undeniably potent. Seeking a fragile sanctuary from the rising tide of her inner turmoil, Serafina retreated to the master bathroom. She drew a bath, the water steaming and fragrant with lavender and rose. The flickering candlelight painted the porcelain in soft, undulating hues, creating a temporary illusion of peace. As she sank into the warmth, the tension in her shoulders began to ease, but the phantom image of Caspian's intense gaze persisted. She remembered the subtle brush of his fingers against her arm, the almost imperceptible tightening of his jaw, the unspoken question that had hung heavy in the air between them. It was a look that had awakened something within her, a dormant longing she had long suppressed. The memory pulsed through her, a dangerous heat blooming in her chest. A soft knock on the bathroom door shattered the fragile stillness, jolting Serafina from her reverie. Her heart leapt into her throat, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. "Who is it?" she called out, her voice betraying a tremor of panic. The water rippled around her as she instinctively drew her knees to her chest. "It's Caspian," came the low, resonant reply from the other side of the door. A shiver, not entirely unpleasant, traced its way down her spine. What do you want? She managed, attempting a lightness that felt utterly false even to her own ears. You've been in there a while, he said, his voice laced with a concern that sounded almost genuine, yet carried an undercurrent she couldn't quite decipher. Her pulse quickened at the sound of it. Serafina took a deep breath, trying to quell the sudden flutter in her stomach. I'm fine, just relaxing. The lie hung in the humid air, thick and palpable. A beat of silence stretched between them before he spoke again. Can I come in? I just wanted to see if you were all right. Her heart hammered against her ribs. He was standing just beyond the thin barrier of the door, and the urge to simply open it, to bridge the small distance between them, was a sudden, fierce ache. Before she could formulate a response, the door creaked inward. Caspian stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame with an almost casual grace. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and the warm cotton of his t-shirt clung to the lean lines of his torso. His eyes, the color of a stormy sea, held hers with an unnerving intensity, making her feel exposed and vulnerable. I thought you might want some company, he said, his gaze drifting slowly over the flickering candles, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Serafina was taken aback by his audacity. The air in the small room thickened, charged with an unspoken tension. The only sound was the gentle lapping of the water against the porcelain. I don't know if that's a good idea, Caspian, she stammered, her carefully constructed composure beginning to fray. Hey, we're alone for a second, he urged, taking a step further into the room. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, the unspoken invitation hanging heavy between them. The longing she had tried to bury resurfaced with a vengeance. He took another step, his gaze dropping to the water. I can already feel the weight of your relaxation, he murmured, his voice a low, teasing caress that sent shivers dancing across her skin. What if Alistair comes home? She asked, a weak attempt at practicality, though a treacherous part of her hoped he wouldn't. Then we'll just have to be quiet, he suggested, a knowing smirk widening on his face as he leaned closer. Serafina could feel the warmth of his breath on her neck, the proximity sending a jolt of pure sensation through her. Please, just let me in, he whispered, his voice laced with a longing that echoed the secret ache in her own heart. Hesitation warred with a burgeoning desire, her conscience a fragile thread against the pull of something forbidden. He reached out, his fingers brushing lightly against her arm, igniting a fire that had long lay dormant. Fine, she murmured, her voice barely audible. Without another word, Caspian stepped into the tub, the warm water swirling around them. They sat in a charged silence, their bodies close but not touching, the air crackling with unspoken desires. Serafina could feel the heat emanating from him, a palpable energy that mirrored the turmoil within her. This feels nice, he said, his fingers tracing a slow path along her thigh. It does, she replied, her breath catching in her throat as he moved closer. Their bodies were now mere inches apart, the shared warmth a tangible link between them. He reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. They sat like that for a long moment, their hands clasped in the warm water, a silent acknowledgement of the dangerous intimacy that had bloomed between them. Then, he turned his head, his gaze locking with hers, and leaned in. His kiss was soft at first, a tentative exploration. It deepened quickly, a desperate meeting of unspoken needs. It felt like a release, a breaking free from the suffocating loneliness that had enveloped them both. Their kisses became more urgent, a silent conversation of longing and desire. As Caspian's hands moved from her back to the curve of her breast, Serafina felt the intoxicating rush of a forbidden thrill wash over her. His touch ignited sensations she had long forgotten, and she surrendered to them completely. His lips brushed against her collarbone, sending shivers down her spine. Just enjoy this, he whispered, his breath hot against her skin. Serafina closed her eyes, losing herself in the sensations he was creating. Every touch, every kiss, felt like a spark igniting a long-dormant fire within her. Her fingers tangled in his wet hair as he pulled her closer, their bodies fitting together with a shocking familiarity. The warm water enveloped them, a secret world carved out of the silent house. Suddenly, the bathroom door swung open, and Alistair's booming voice shattered their fragile sanctuary. Serafina? Are you here? Caspian and Serafina froze, their hearts pounding in unison. They instinctively ducked behind the shower curtain, holding their breath as Alistair moved through the house, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The tension was a palpable thing, a suffocating weight as they stood huddled together, the heat radiating off each other mingling with the icy fear that gripped them. Serafina could feel Caspian's warm breath on her neck, and her heart raced not only with terror but with the lingering echoes of their illicit embrace. After what felt like an eternity, the sound of the water running in the downstairs bathroom reached them, followed by the click of the door closing. Alistair had moved on. Caspian and Serafina shared a relieved, yet shaken, glance. "We were so lucky," Caspian whispered, his voice still thick with adrenaline. Serafina nodded, a dizzying mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. Her body still thrummed with the aftershocks of their encounter, the danger only heightening the illicit thrill. Caspian's gaze locked onto hers, filled with a raw longing. Do you want to continue?" he asked, his voice low and husky. Serafina hesitated, the weight of the potential consequences crashing down on her. Yet, as she looked into his eyes, she saw a reflection of her own desperate yearning, a shared secret that bound them together. "Yes," she whispered, the word barely audible. They stepped out from behind the curtain, their eyes locked in a silent acknowledgement of the precipice they stood upon. Serafina took a tentative step closer, her heart pounding as she reached out, pulling him into another kiss. This time, it was different. It was no longer just a stolen thrill, but a deeper connection, a passion that had been ignited and now demanded to be acknowledged. Consequences be damned. His kiss was urgent, demanding, and Serafina surrendered completely, allowing herself to feel everything she had held back for so long. Days bled into weeks, their stolen moments becoming a fragile lifeline in the vast ocean of Serafina's loneliness. The late afternoon sun filtering through the kitchen window as she prepared dinner now held the ghost of Caspian's touch, the scent of sautéed vegetables mingling with the intoxicating memory of his nearness. Lost in thought, replaying every stolen kiss, every whispered word, she barely registered the familiar sound of Caspian's footsteps echoing in the hallway. Her heart skipped a beat as he entered the kitchen, his playful smile a stark contrast to the turmoil within her. "Hey, what smells so good?" he asked, leaning casually against the counter. "Just some dinner," she replied, attempting a normalcy that felt increasingly difficult to maintain. His mischievous eyes held a knowing glint that sent a shiver down her spine. "How was your day?" he inquired, his tone deceptively casual. "Long and boring," Serafina confessed, her mind racing with thoughts of their last clandestine meeting. "Really?" he probed, stepping closer, his presence a warm, dangerous comfort in the otherwise sterile kitchen. "Being here with you makes my day better," she admitted, her voice slightly wavering. His words transported her back to their shared moments, and she glanced at the stove, feigning busyness to hide the flush creeping up her neck. "You're just saying that," she replied, avoiding his gaze. "No, I'm serious," he insisted, closing the distance until he was mere inches behind her. "I can't stop thinking about you. About us." His words sent a thrill coursing through her. "Caspian, we can't keep doing this. It's complicated." He leaned in, resting his chin on her shoulder, his warmth enveloping her, making it hard to think clearly. "Why not? We both want this, don't we?" Serafina closed her eyes briefly, savoring the intoxicating scent of his cologne, the undeniable chemistry that crackled between them. I want it," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath, "but it's dangerous." "Sometimes the best things in life come with a little danger," he murmured, his lips brushing against her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "Let's just enjoy it while we can." Serafina took a deep breath, her heart pounding against her ribs. He was right. This connection, this spark of forbidden passion, was the only thing that made her feel truly alive. "Okay," she whispered, turning to face him. The air thickened with anticipation, their eyes locking in a moment heavy with hope and longing. A triumphant smile spread across his face. Just as Serafina felt herself teetering on the edge of a dangerous precipice, ready to leap into the unknown, Caspian took her hand. He led her out of the kitchen, down the hallway, towards the sanctuary of her bedroom. A thrill danced in her chest, a reckless abandon that threatened to eclipse all reason. As soon as they were inside, he closed the door softly and turned the lock. The atmosphere shifted, charged with a palpable electricity. He turned to her, his expression a mixture of seriousness and hunger. "I've thought about this moment for days," he said, stepping closer, his fingers brushing lightly against her arm. Instinct took over. Serafina placed her hands on his chest, driven by a desperate yearning. The remaining distance between them vanished as he wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her close until their bodies were pressed together. Without a word, his lips found hers, and Serafina melted into him, a rush of pure desire coursing through her veins. Her hands moved inside his shirt, deepening the kiss, the world outside fading into insignificance. Every kiss ignited a deeper yearning within her, the heat rising with each stolen moment. His hands began to explore her body, and she gasped at his touch, responding instinctively. They lost themselves in each other, unaware of anything but the intoxicating connection between them as they fell onto the bed. He kissed her feverishly, his breath warm against her skin. "You're so beautiful," he murmured between kisses. His hands found the hem of her shirt, and Serafina felt a thrill course through her. "We shouldn't be doing this," he whispered, but the urgency in his voice betrayed his desire. "Let's forget everything else. Just for tonight." With a swift motion, he lifted her shirt over her head, his eyes drinking in the sight of her body with an unabashed admiration that sent a wave of vulnerability and excitement through her. As his fingers brushed against her skin, Serafina gasped, an electric rush flooding her senses. He broke their kiss to look at her, awe evident in his expression. "I want you," she confessed, emboldened by the moment. "Let's make this happen." He captured her lips again, his hands deftly moving to unfasten her bra. His kisses sent fireworks through her, igniting a desire she hadn't known she possessed. She ran her hands along his back, exploring the muscles beneath his shirt, longing to touch every part of him. Their connection felt profound, destined to unfold in this intoxicating night. He took her lips again, his hands moving to her back, the strap of her bra slipping away. A rush of heat flooded through her. He pushed the fabric aside, his fingers delicately brushing against her skin, breaking the kiss to look at her. His expression was filled with awe. "You're incredible," he murmured, his eyes reflecting a deep desire. "I want you," Serafina repeated, feeling boldly reckless in that moment, her heart racing. "Let's make this unforgettable." His voice was thick with longing as he kissed her again, this time with an intensity that engulfed them both. He explored every inch of her mouth, their bodies tangling together as she lost herself in him. The kisses grew fervent, his hands roaming as he pressed her against the wall. She felt as if he were discovering every part of her for the first time. Time lost all meaning as they surrendered to their desires, the thrill of being together pushing them both over the edge. She felt alive, desired, and utterly consumed by the connection they shared. Eventually, he pulled back, breathless, taking her hand as he led her to the bed. "Are you ready?" he asked, his eyes dark with longing. "Yes," she whispered, anticipation electrifying the air between them. They collapsed onto the bed, their bodies entwined, the thrill of this moment surging through her. It was a dance of passion and desire, exhilarating and intoxicating as they gave into each other. Serafina knew, with a certainty that both thrilled and terrified her, that this was just the beginning of their passionate adventure, a thrilling secret poised to change everything. Days turned into weeks, their clandestine encounters transforming into moments of pure, stolen bliss. Each stolen second felt like a breath of fresh air, a brief, intoxicating escape from the stifling reality of Serafina's marriage. The comfort of their shared glances, the soft brush of hands, the passionate urgency of their kisses left them both breathless, bound by a secret language of touch and stolen moments. One evening, after a particularly breathless rendezvous, they lay tangled together in bed, the soft moonlight painting silver streaks across the room. Serafina traced her fingers along Caspian's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her touch. "What are we doing?" she asked, breaking the comfortable silence, the question heavy with unspoken implications. "Living," he replied, his voice steady, grounding her in the precarious reality of their affair. Serafina smiled at his simple answer, but a knot of uncertainty tightened in her stomach. "What happens when someone finds out?" she asked, worry coloring her tone. "We'll deal with it," he said, lifting her chin to meet his gaze. "I'm not afraid of what this is. I want you." His words sent a rush of warmth through her, but the feeling of impending doom lingered. "I want you too," she confessed, realizing that this was more than just a fleeting physical connection. It meant something dangerous and exhilarating. He nodded, his seriousness mirroring her own unspoken fears. Fear shouldn't hold us back. We deserve happiness. The sincerity in his voice melted a sliver of her worry, and she leaned in, capturing his lips in a heated kiss. This connection, this feeling, was no longer just about the thrill of the forbidden, it had begun to matter. It means something to me too, Caspian murmured against her lips, but we can't let fear hold us back. We deserve to be happy. His voice was thick with sincerity, and for a fleeting moment, Serafina allowed herself to believe him. She leaned in, their lips meeting again in a kiss that deepened their connection, allowing her to lose herself in the intoxicating present and momentarily forget the looming shadow of discovery. In those stolen weeks, they had carved out a secret world, a vibrant oasis amidst the arid landscape of Serafina's marriage. Each stolen moment became more precious, more vital than the last, and she found herself anticipating their encounters with a heady mix of excitement and a gnawing apprehension. The thrill of their secret meetings consumed her, Caspian's gaze filled with a desire and admiration that made her feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. Each kiss ignited a fire within her that had long been dormant, a spark of life in the quiet monotony of her days. Yet, despite her attempts to savor their connection, the precarious reality of their situation lingered like a persistent ache. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were living on borrowed time, teetering on the edge of a precipice. The nagging thought echoed in the silent corners of her mind: what would happen if Alistair found out? Would he erupt into fury, his controlled facade shattering to reveal a terrifying rage? Would he understand the desolate landscape of her heart, the unspoken needs that had driven her into Caspian's arms? Or would he simply see her as a betrayer, someone who had irrevocably crossed an unthinkable line? One evening, as Serafina stood at the kitchen counter, the rhythmic thud of the knife against the cutting board a counterpoint to the frantic rhythm of her thoughts, her mind was a whirlwind of Caspian. She chopped vegetables with a mechanical precision, her gaze unfocused, lost in the intoxicating memory of his touch, his whispered promises. The aroma of simmering herbs filled the air, a domestic normalcy that felt increasingly alien to the secret world she now inhabited. It was then, as the last rays of the setting sun cast long shadows across the polished floor, that the heavy front door creaked open. Alistair was home. His familiar footsteps echoed in the hallway, each measured tread a stark reminder of the life Serafina was betraying. Her heart lurched, the vibrant hues of her secret world suddenly bleached of color. She straightened, forcing a semblance of calm onto her features, the knife clutched tightly in her hand. The air in the kitchen seemed to thicken, charged with a tension that had nothing to do with the simmering sauce on the stove. Alistair appeared in the doorway, his tie loosened, his briefcase heavy in his hand. His eyes, usually sharp and assessing, seemed distant, clouded with the weariness of his demanding profession. "Serafina," he said, his voice a low rumble, devoid of any particular emotion. "Dinner?" "Almost ready," she replied, her voice sounding strangely foreign to her own ears. She avoided his gaze, her focus fixed on the vegetables she was meticulously arranging on a platter. "How was your day?" he asked, the question perfunctory, a habit more than a genuine inquiry. "Quiet," she managed, the lie slipping easily from her tongue. The memory of Caspian's laughter, his touch, the stolen intimacy of their afternoon together, felt like a brand seared onto her soul. Alistair moved further into the kitchen, his gaze sweeping over the counters, the familiar space suddenly feeling like a stage upon which her deception was being played out. He didn't notice the subtle tremor in her hands, the rapid pulse that hammered in her chest. He was preoccupied, already mentally preparing for the next day's battles. Caspian appeared in the doorway behind Alistair, his presence a silent shockwave that rippled through Serafina. His eyes met hers, a fleeting glance filled with a mixture of concern and a reckless defiance. The unspoken language that had developed between them in their stolen moments was now a dangerous current in the room. Alistair turned, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Caspian? You're home?" "Yeah, just got back," Caspian replied, his tone deliberately casual, yet Serafina could detect a subtle tension in his posture. The three of them stood in the kitchen, the air thick with unspoken words and hidden desires. Serafina felt caught in a suffocating web of her own making, the weight of her secret pressing down on her. The mundane act of preparing dinner had become a treacherous performance, each movement, each word, fraught with the potential for exposure. As Alistair turned his attention back to Serafina, asking about a document he needed, Caspian's gaze lingered on her, a silent plea, a dangerous promise. Serafina's heart pounded. The fragile balance she had tried to maintain was teetering on the brink of collapse. The loneliness that had driven her to temptation now threatened to consume them all. The gilded cage she had felt trapped in had become a crucible, and the serpent's kiss had awakened a fire that could either liberate or destroy them. The confession, she knew, was inevitable. The only question was when, and what devastation it would leave in its wake.